So in this book, don't judge me, because you're gonna judge me. Next up is how many times am I gonna say super also? Ellingham Academy, ... So in this one we have a family, one linked to a deadly fire at a cult compound. So I don't know. Hi everybody, it's Adrian. Welcome back to Chapter and Converse, and welcome to a big old book haul. I feel like it's been a minute since I've done a book haul, and it has been a minute. That's why it feels that way. So I literally have like a basket of books. Can I do it? Like a basket of books as this haul. So it's a whole lot of stuff, and it's a mix of gifted, thrifted, pre-orders, spontaneous decisions that I needed to get some books. So we're gonna go through the entire stack. I will probably attempt to keep the descriptions brief. I don't even know why I always say these things. Why don't we just get right into the books? So the first book I have is Meet Me in Another Life by Katrina Silvi, and I picked this up from Thrift Books. This has been on my radar since last year, and I heard about it on the Moby Fic podcast, and I want to even say maybe it was when PJ Vernon was a guest on it. I'm going to need to go back and do my homework on that one, but this one is definitely like a bit not my normal fare, not a thriller, but also completely intriguing to me. So it has a little bit of a magical realism element to it, and I was just totally intrigued. So this says 2 people, infinite lifetimes, and 1 impossible choice. So it's been likened to Life After Life by Kate Atkinson, which I know of but haven't read. I actually have it. I got it at a library sale like years ago. But this is about Thora and Santi, and they meet, a chance encounter intertwining their fates. And a few days later, a tragic accident cuts their story short. But over the years, they meet again and again as different people. So it says they meet as a teacher and gifted student, a caretaker and a dying patient, a cynic and a believer. In numerous lives, they become friends, colleagues, lovers, and enemies. As blurred memories and strange patterns compound, they come to a shocking revelation, and they must discover the truth of their mysterious attachment before their many lives come to one final end. So again, so not my wheelhouse normally, but totally intrigued by it. It is a debut novel, and I will let you know what I think of it. I'm gonna say that for every book after I read it. Next up is a book that I am currently reading, and it's Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. So I am a little bit more than halfway through, and I am obsessed. So I actually started to listen to this through my library. The audiobook is tremendous, and much like when I was reading Fool Me Once by Ashley Winstead, in the case of this book, it was like the first sentence. I was laughing out loud, and I was like, I need to buy this book. I absolutely need to buy this book. So I actually went out to Barnes & Noble that evening. I picked up this, and there's another book in this pile because it was like a buy one get one half off situation. So this is a fake dating romance with Luke and Oliver, and Luke is the son of a rock star, and his reputation is kind of in tatters, and he needs to clean things up a bit. And Oliver is a barrister, and he is looking for a date for a VIP event that he has going on. So they agree to fake date to help each other's situations out. And I mean, like I said, I'm a little bit more than halfway through, but we can guess that love blooms and there's a happy ever after. And then the sequel, by the time you guys are seeing this, has already come out, Husband Material, but I am obsessed. Okay, speaking of obsessed, don't judge me, because you're gonna judge me. House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. This is the UK cover, which I pre-ordered. I already read the arc of this. If you guys have been here for even 3 seconds, you know Riley Sager is one of my most favorite authors ever. I have multiple copies of all of his books. I'm a woman obsessed. I make no excuses. So this is his current release. This is Rear Window on a Lake, and I loved it when I read the audiobook, when I read the arc of it earlier this summer. So we follow Casey, who is an actress. She is recently widowed. She is kind of like Luke from Boyfriend Material. Her reputation's a little bit in tatters, so her solution, her mom is like, you need to get out of the spotlight of New York City and go up to the family cabin in Vermont and like get it together, girl. So Casey follows her mother's advice as far as going up to the cabin, but you know, bourbon, binoculars, the house across the lake, she starts to see some things and madness ensues. I absolutely loved this book. I don't know why I'm whispering. Another pre-order I have is Sarah Pierce, The Retreat. So she wrote The Sanatorium, which I read last year and absolutely loved. This is the second book in a series. So in book number 1, we follow Detective Ellen, what is her last name? Warner. And that was an isolated thriller in the Alps. And in this one, we have an isolated thriller at an island with a wellness retreat where like the island is one part wellness retreat and the other part I think is like a completely terrifying, yep, Reaper's Rock. Has a dark past. Nobody is surprised about that. So this definitely has an And Then There Were None kind of a vibe to it. Somebody is found dead. Ellen comes in as the detective to see what is up. And when I read it, I will let you know what's up. But I really enjoyed The Sanatorium. It was definitely like a slow burn, suspense, character driven. I feel like the thriller word is always so tricky. I feel like definitely was like a slow burn suspense, but I very much enjoyed it. So I am excited to see where Sarah Pierce takes us next. Next up is a classic, and it's The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, which my fabulous friend Amanda from the Curly Reader sent me as a congratulations for when I hit 5,000 subscribers. So it's been a minute since I said I've done a book haul. This is so beautiful. There's her little thing from Amazon, but it has these beautiful ends and it's got gold. It's just an absolutely stunning edition. I love this book. I have read this book a few times. So when I reread this last year, I just had such a great time with it. And there's so many great characters in this. And I mean, whether we're talking about Daisy or we're talking about Jay, and there's just so many quotable lines in this book too. And I just kind of forgot how smart it was and how well done it was. It's so funny because I know other people who have reread it and they're like, I kind of don't remember why I thought this was a big deal, but I think this is such a great book. And I mean, let's be honest, if you're going to have a book that you love, why not have a stunning version of it? So thanks, Amanda. Okay, here's the second book with the buy one, get one half off situation. And this is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. So I think this was like a book of the month pick for July, but this is Romance is Dead, but this isn't what she had in mind. So Christina Lauren has a quote on the back of this. It says, an absolute and unexpected delight. This was a book that honestly was not at all on my radar, but when I wanted to get boyfriend material and I saw it was a buy one, get one situation, obviously you start to dig pretty deep in the pile. But this is about a woman named Florence, and she is a ghostwriter for one of the most prolific romance authors in the industry. And she has a problem. After a terrible breakup, she no longer believes in love. It's as good as dead. So then we get a reluctant return home element, which is one of my most favorite vibes. And it is because Florence's dad has passed away, so she has to return back to the town that she left 10 years ago, a place where she never felt she was understood. And it says she finds a ghost standing at the funeral parlor's front door. So this ghost has some unfinished business, and it says it will have her second guessing everything she's ever known about love stories. So I don't know, I'm totally intrigued. It just sounds like super fun. The next book I have, I actually found in a free little library, and it's Erin Morgenstern, The Night Circus. So this is one of those books that I will be honest, I was never totally like desperate to read, but I know it's one of Sarah's favorites, Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand, and she always talks about it. So when I saw it, it is basically like mint condition. There's like 2 little cracks in the spine, which fine by me. So I totally snagged it. I haven't read it yet, and we'll see. We'll see. I want to try and be brave and read this book. I don't know, I hear so many people just totally rave about it, and I don't even know totally what it's about. So it says, the circus arrives without warning, no announcements precede it, it's simply there, when yesterday it was not. Within the black and white striped canvas tents is an utterly unique experience, full of breathtaking amazements. It's called Le Cirque de Rêves, I don't speak French, and it is only open at night. So there's just, it says a love story for adults that feels luxuriously romantic. I'm super intrigued. I'm definitely intrigued, mostly because I feel like so many people talk about how amazing it is. And I will admit there's a little FOMO factor coming in here for this one. So there you go. The next book I have was also gifted to me, and this is from Janine, and this is The Woman in the Library, I almost dropped it, by Solari Gentile. So this is a recent release. This is the Boston Public Library, which you guys know I love anything set in Boston. So I haven't read it yet. We are getting there, we are getting there. And this is about a group of people, so they're in the reading room in the Boston Public Library until the tranquility is shattered by a woman's terrified scream. So security guards take charge immediately, instructing everyone to stay put while they figure out what's the what. And it says each has his or her own reasons for being in the reading room that morning, and it just happens that one is a murderer. So I don't know much else about this book, and I don't really want to. I know some of it is told in letters. I don't know if we are going forwards and backwards in time. I don't know how things are revealed, but like I said, anything Boston, I'm completely here for, set in the library. Super, super exciting. I used to live a few blocks from there, which I just love that whole element of it. So stay tuned and I will let you guys know. But thank you again, Janine, for this. Okay, the next book I have, I came across in some online article about books to read while you're waiting for The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead to come out. Also, if you've been here a minute, you know I'm obsessed with that. So this is The Night We Burned by S.F. Koza. I have not heard of this book. I didn't know anything about this, but of course I was just like, okay, tell me all about it. It is about a cult. I haven't read anything else by her. I'm not even aware of S.F. Koza as an author. So this came out in 2021. It's not even like an old book, but it says her past was in ashes until it came roaring back once more. So in this book, we're following Dora, and she works at an online magazine. She is, of course, trying to outrun her secrets from her past. And one of her colleagues decides to pursue a story about a murder from her hometown that took place 20 years ago, and it's linked to a deadly fire at a cult compound. Ah. So it says, when the colleague starts to investigate, all of Dora's carefully spun deceptions are suddenly at risk. If she can't stop the story, her entire life is on the line. So she works with her colleagues, altering facts to hide her past along the way, and she's thrown back into a world that she tried desperately to leave behind. One of ritual and belonging, of danger and darkness. A world where two girls promised to help each other through until it all went up in flames. As her lies pile up, so do the murders, until Dora realizes she won't be lucky enough to escape twice. I should read this before The Last Housewife comes out in a couple of weeks. At the time I'm filming this, by the time you're seeing this, less than that. So let me know if anybody's read this one. Super intrigued. How many times am I gonna say super also? Okay, next up is another pre-order, and it's The Bay by Ali Reynolds. So I got this from Book Depository. It did come out a little earlier there because I was all, I'm gonna get it earlier and read it sooner. So have I read it yet? No, but super excited to have it. This is known as The Swell in the US. So again, in case there's any confusion, different titles, exact same book. So Shiver has been one of my most favorite books of the year. I feel like I always want to say last year. I read it super early this year and I loved it. So in this one, again, we sort of have a bit of an isolated setting. This is about a group of surfers, and Kenna arrives in Sydney to surprise her best friend, shocked to hear she's going to marry a guy she's only just met. But Mickey and her fiance Jack are about to head away on a trip, so Kenna finds herself tagging along for the ride. So they go to this place called Sorrow Bay, and it sounds like Mickey and Jack's other friends are not super excited that Kenna has kind of tagged along on this, and things get messy. I'm guessing murder ensues. It says the waves won't wash away what they did. So I'm expecting just absolutely insanity in all the best ways. I thought Shiver was so smart. I loved the characters. I loved the writing. I was so hooked. I obsessively read that book, and I'm really looking forward to reading some more Ali Reynolds. So this is her second book, and when I do read it, one more time for the people in the back, I'll let you know what I think. Next up is another free little library find on a different day. I've got another free little library find in here. So 3 separate days, and I found 3 amazing books. So this is Jennifer Weiner's The Next Best Thing. This is one of her older books, and I have not read a Jennifer Weiner book in a really long time, but I have a bunch of her books. This came out in 2012, and my mom actually had started getting into her. So I gave my mom all of the Jennifer Weiner books that I had, and I was like, you can just take these. Like, I'm not gonna jump into them again anytime soon, other than Goodnight Nobody, which I read again 2 years ago, maybe, I want to say. I feel like that's my favorite. But then when I saw this, I was like, this is one of the books of hers I don't have, and now I'm kind of curious too, like Power of Suggestion. So in this one, we have, at 3 years old, Ruth Saunders miraculously survives the car crash that takes her parents' lives on the icy Massachusetts Turnpike. Her eccentric grandmother, who comes out of Florida retirement to care for young Ruth, nurtures her through years of surgeries, feeding her home-cooked meals, dispensing irreverent wisdom, and telling Ruth she's beautiful even though her scars will stay with her forever. So after college, Ruth goes to Hollywood to pursue a dream of writing, heading west with her grandma in tow, hoping to make it big in the world of TV. And then after years of failure and a badly broken heart, Ruth gets the call. Her show has been greenlit. So it says Ruth's happy ending is only the beginning as she struggles with how television gets made, terrified and terrifying executives and actresses with their eyes on bigger prizes than Ruthie's show, and an unrequited crush on a man who has been her mentor. Add to that her grandmother's impending nuptials, and Ruth's big break just might break her. So it says a rollicking ride on the Hollywood roller coaster. So it's about a young woman searching for her own happily ever after in the land where dreams come true. I'm wondering if some of this is based on when some of Jennifer Weiner's books, like In Her Shoes, got made into a movie, and if it's like a bit of her Hollywood experience, but I don't know. I just, again, Power of Suggestion, saw it, mint condition, had to get it. Here you go. The next book I have is Flying Solo by Linda Holmes. So this one came out pretty recently, and I loved her first book, Evie Drake Starts Over. And that was a book that Taylor Jenkins Reid had talked about, kind of endorsed, if you will, in one of her newsletters, and I just completely fell in love with it. So I'm interested to see where this one takes us, and it has a bit of that kind of starting over feeling to it, the reluctant return home feeling to it, and this is actually set in the same Maine town where Evie Drake was, and I think maybe we get a cameo of what happened to our characters from Evie Drake. But in this one, we have Lori, who is just about to turn 40, and she returns home because her great aunt Dot has passed away. And she winds up kind of going through all of Dot's things and kind of cleaning up her house. And she winds up discovering some love letters that a never married Dot had hidden. And one of them ends with the line, quote, "And anyway, if you're ever desperate, there are always ducks, darling." So there is a wooden duck figurine that she finds, and I think some level of caper chaos ensues. So I'm not totally sure. I'm kind of like want to go into this a little bit blind, even though it's not like a hardcore mystery thriller, but it's also the element of kind of finding out who you are and flying solo and being on your own and being open to people and being open to relationships. And I just sort of like the 40-something element of it. And again, loved Linda Holmes' other book. First book? Was Evie her first book? I feel like I should know. Yes, it was. So I'm just super intrigued to see where she goes next with this one, and I have very high hopes. Next up is a book that I won on Goodreads, which I had mentioned here before, but had a heck of a time getting it into my hands, and it's The Island by Adrian Mckinty. This was one of those, they said it shipped, it didn't. I was able to reach out to them, and they actually sent it, and I'm super excited about it. So he wrote The Chain, which was crazy town, like definitely like no exit level, off the rails, just hunker down and like enjoy the ride. So I am expecting a very similar vibe from The Island. So in this one, we have a family that winds up going to the Australian outback on vacation. And we have Tom, who is a widowed doctor with a young son and teenage daughter, and his new wife, Heather Baxter. So they discover this remote Dutch island off limits to outside visitors. They talk their way onto the ferry, taking a chance on adventure far from the reach of iPhones and Instagram. But as soon as they set foot on the island, which is run by a tightly knit clan of locals, everything feels wrong. Then a shocking accident propels the Baxters from an unsettling situation into an absolute nightmare. That's kind of all I want to know. But again, I'm expecting crazy town, and it says it was just supposed to be a vacation. Oh, it's gonna be so much more than that. So when I mentioned how I have multiples of Olive Riley Sager's book, part of that is thanks to Christine, who sent me Lock Every Door. This is the UK cover of the book, and I love it. I absolutely love it. So I was just looking, this was sent on May 26th, so a bit of a gauge for how long it's been since I've done a book haul. But this is, I was gonna say it's the Dakota. It's based on the Dakota in New York City, but it's the Bartholomew. So this is Rosemary's Baby vibes. So in this book, we follow Jules. She is an apartment sitter for this totally fancy Upper West Side apartment building. She's super down on her luck. She's just broken up with her boyfriend who she was living with. She does not have a job, and she basically can make major money for being an apartment sitter. Sure, there's some rules, like you have to spend every night there and you can't have friends over and you can't talk to the full-time residents who are very rich and famous and fabulous people, but she's like, not a problem, give me the money and I get to live in this completely amazing apartment building, no problem. Until one of the other apartment sitters goes missing and Jules wants to figure out what's happening. So I absolutely love this book. This was like propulsive, rip through, super fast, definitely also like a Crazy Cakes kind of a book, but I had a great time with it. I really enjoyed Jules as a character and I just always recommend some Riley Sager. Okay, we're in the home stretch. Next up, I have Blood Sugar, and this is by Sasha Rothschild. So this is sort of like a female Dexter is how I read this, and yes, please, give me all the things. So it says, she's accused of 4 murders, but she's only guilty of 3. So in this one, we meet Ruby Simon, and it says, I could just kill you right now. It's something we've all thought at one time or another, but Ruby Simon has actually acted on it 3 times to be exact. So when this book opens, we meet Ruby. She's in a police interrogation room, suddenly accused of killing her husband, but this is one murder that she didn't commit. So again, I don't want to know much else about this. Set in Miami, very Dexter-ish, and I'm just really excited about it. This is a debut. This is not a very big book, and this is definitely going to be on my non-TBR TBR for the month of August, because I also feel like Murder in Miami in the summer. I don't know if this takes place in the summer, but anytime I think of Miami, the one time I went there, it was just really, really hot. So I feel like this will be a great book to read in August. Next up is my last free little library find, and this is The Neighbor's Secret by Elle, Allison Heller. Again, mint condition. Different day in a free little library, but I don't usually score this big in the 2 free little libraries in my town, but I'll take it. So in this one it says, how well do you really know your neighbors? This is definitely mystery thriller. This was a September 2021 book of the month selection. So we are in Cottonwood Estates, which is the perfect place to raise children with its sprawling yards and excellent schools. The Cottonwood Book Club serves as the subdivision's eyes and ears, meeting once a month for discussion, gossip, and cocktails. If their selections trend toward twisty thrillers and salacious murder mysteries, it's only because the members feel secure enough that such evil has no place on their own cul-de-sac. So you know something bad is about to go down in this place. So it says, but when late night acts of vandalism target the women of the book club in increasingly violent and personal ways, some of Cottonwood Estate's longest buried secrets begin to surface. So there's more on the inside flap. I don't want to read it. I recently just had another incident of a book where the back cover gave away way too much information, and I just don't want that to happen again. So hopefully that was not too much information, but this one just sounds really good, and it kind of not really totally reminds me of the Sarah Langan book, The Neighbors, but at the same time, I just love these, maybe like Sherry LaPena kind of salacious, dark suburbia kind of vibes to it. So I'm very interested. Give me an idyllic place that is not that, and I'm here for it. And then for the grand finale, so appropriate, right? It's The House Across the Lake, again, by Riley Sager. So this is my Murder by the Book version. Oh my goodness, I just realized I forgot another book. Okay, so false alarm, not the last book. That was not on purpose. So this was my personalized pre-order that he did. Again, the Murder by the Book bookmarks that they always give you. And I've already talked about the book, so you don't need to know all about it twice. But I love that Murder by the Book does this, and this has become a thing for the past 3 years with his releases. So do I have both versions of this? Yes. Is that excessive? Yes. Am I sorry? No, not even a little bit sorry, because he's my most favorite person, and the covers are both completely stunning, and I absolutely love this book. So I've got that. But I also have one more, because when I bought this from Murder by the Book, I bought 2 books. And the other book just happens to be over there because it's going to be part of my July wrap-up. So hold please. Okay, let's talk about the Agathas. So this is by Kathleen Glasgow and Liz Lawson. And this was another one of those books where as soon as I heard about it, I was like, ooh, I'm really in. Look at the dog earring situation there, you guys. I read this book so quickly and I totally loved it. And this is a YA mystery with tons of Agatha Christie winks and nods to it, hence the name The Agathas. And we are in Castle Cove, a town cursed with missing girls, bad boyfriends, family secrets, and some very steep cliffs. So we've got a map in the front, which I love me a map. And we have what winds up being 2 teen amateur detectives. So when I first heard about this book, we are following Alice, who is a student at this high school, and it had said how she partners kind of up with her tutor to investigate a missing girl in their town. I thought her tutor was going to be somebody older, but it turns out to be one of her classmates who of course they're not friends with because they're in different social circles, but they get brought together because she's tutoring Alice, because Alice herself had gone missing and she returned home perfectly fine. And now our school year has restarted, and one of Alice's former best friends, Brooke Donovan, who also happens to be dating Alice's ex-boyfriend, Steve, has disappeared. And the 2 girls wind up on the case. So Alice herself is completely obsessed with Agatha Christie. We get Agatha Christie quotes to open all of Alice's chapters. We get multiple POVs in this, and I just was totally hooked. So I would say if you enjoy the vibes of Good Girl's Guide to Murder or Truly Devious, like Pip, and those main characters, and why am I blanking on the main character in Truly Devious? Oh my gosh, I can see her name, but I can't think of it. Isn't that the worst? Avery from the Hawthorne Legacy series, or the Inheritance Game series, I should say. And Truly Devious. I want to say it's Sydney, that's not Sydney. And now, of course, I'm looking for... This is so embarrassing, you guys. Ellingham Academy, Stevie Bell, Stevie Bell. So if you like Stevie, this is another great book. Oh my gosh, I'm fried. But I had such a great time with this book. Again, I ordered this in conjunction with House Across the Lake by Riley Sager, and I just thought it was so great. So I have not read anything else by Kathleen Glasgow or Liz Lawson. They have both written separately and collaborated on this book, and I just thought it was absolutely brilliant. So I will definitely be checking out other books that they have written. I hope this is the first in a series. I don't know if it's meant to be, but I feel like there's so much potential. But there's just so many great side characters in this, and I just really enjoyed the mystery of it all. I thought it was really, really well done and great fun. So highly recommend. So that's gonna do it for real for my haul. This, like I said, this is probably like mid-May to end of July, so if that gives you a little bit of a frame of reference, but let me know if you have read any of the books that I haven't read, things you would recommend, what you have picked up lately that you are absolutely loving. And I have a feeling this is probably a long video, so if you've made it this far, thank you so much for sticking with me. Thanks for being here today, spending probably a decent chunk of your time here, and I will see you guys all again in another video really soon. So take care, everybody. Bye.